"Sir, I'm going to have to ask you to leave this hotel right now because we don't have any rooms available." The lobby of the Grand Palace Hotel was quiet on that Tuesday afternoon in the middle of September in 2023. A tall black man in a simple gray hoodie and worn blue jeans stood at the front desk, holding a small travel bag. His name was Travis King, and he had just walked in from a long flight that had landed 2 hours ago. The woman behind the desk had blonde hair pulled back tight, and a name tag that said Linda in gold letters on her chest. She looked at Travis with cold eyes and did not smile at all when she spoke those words to him that afternoon. Her fingers were not even touching the keyboard in front of her to check for any open rooms in the computer system. Travis put his bag down on the floor next to his feet and looked around the lobby very slowly and carefully. He could see at least 3 other guests checking in at the counter right next to him, without any problems at all. A young white couple had just received their key cards and were walking toward the elevator with big smiles on their faces now. "I have a booking under the name Travis King, and I made this reservation about 2 weeks ago through your website," he said calmly. Linda did not look at her computer screen to verify what he had just told her about his reservation being in their system. She crossed her arms over her chest and let out a long sigh like she was very tired of this whole conversation already now. "Sir, I already told you that we have no rooms available tonight, so you will need to find somewhere else to stay." A man in a dark suit walked over from the back office area and stood right next to Linda behind the tall front desk. His name tag said Robert Crane, and underneath that it said General Manager in smaller letters that were hard to read from far away. He was a big man with gray hair and a red face that looked like he was always angry about something or another. "Is there a problem here that I need to help with right now?" Robert asked while looking at Travis from head to toe very slowly. Linda turned to her boss and spoke in a low voice that Travis could still hear very clearly from where he was standing there. She said that this man was asking for a room, but they were all sold out for the night, and he would not leave. Travis reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone to show them the email that confirmed his reservation for tonight at this hotel. The screen clearly showed a booking for a king suite on the 12th floor for 3 nights starting today at $300 per night. Robert glanced at the phone for just 1 second and then pushed it away from his face with the back of his hand like it smelled bad. He shook his head and told Travis that the system must have made some kind of error because there were no rooms left for him tonight. "I can see people checking in right now at the counter next to me, so how can you say there are no rooms?" Travis asked. Robert's face got even more red than before, and he leaned forward over the counter, so his face was closer to Travis now. He told Travis that those guests had special reservations, and that the hotel had the right to refuse service to anyone they wanted to. He said that Travis needed to leave right now, or he would call security to remove him from the building by force. A security guard in a black uniform was already walking toward the front desk area with his hand resting on his belt near his radio. He was a large man with thick arms and a shaved head that reflected the lights from the fancy crystal lights hanging above the lobby. Travis did not move from his spot in front of the desk and kept his voice very calm and steady when he spoke again. He asked Robert one more time to please check the computer system for his reservation under the name Travis King, because he knew it was there. Robert slammed his hand down on the counter so hard that a pen holder fell over, and pens rolled across the smooth marble top. He told Travis that he was done asking nicely, and that security would now help him find the door outside to the street where he belonged. The security guard named Tony grabbed Travis by the arm and started to pull him toward the front entrance of the big hotel. Travis did not fight back or try to resist, but he did turn his head to look directly at Robert Crane one last time. "You are making a very big mistake right now, and you will understand that very soon," Travis said in a quiet voice that was almost a whisper. Robert laughed out loud and waved his hand in the air like he was swatting away a fly that was bothering him on a hot summer day. He told Travis that he had heard that threat 100 times before from other people, just like him, who thought they were important somehow. Tony pushed Travis through the front doors of the Grand Palace Hotel and onto the sidewalk outside, where cars were passing by slowly. He told Travis to never come back to this hotel again, or he would be arrested for trespassing on private property next time. Travis stood on the sidewalk and watched Tony walk back inside through the big glass doors that had gold handles shaped like lions on them. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone again, but this time he was not looking for his reservation email anymore. He pressed a button on his phone and held it up to his ear while looking at the hotel sign above the main entrance that said Grand Palace. The phone rang 3 times before someone on the other end picked up and said hello in a cheerful voice that sounded happy today. "Jessica, this is Travis, and I need you to do something for me right now that is very important and cannot wait until tomorrow morning," he said. The voice on the phone asked Travis what he needed her to do, and she said she would get started on it right away today. She worked for Travis as his personal assistant and had been with him for over 7 years since he started his company from nothing. Travis told Jessica to pull up all the files on the Grand Palace Hotel chain and find out who owned this location in the city right now. He said he also wanted to know who the general manager was and how long he had been working at this specific hotel location. Jessica said she would have all that information ready for him in less than 30 minutes and asked if there was anything else he needed. Travis said yes and told her to also contact his lawyers and tell them to be ready for a very important meeting first thing tomorrow. He put his phone back in his pocket and walked down the street to find another hotel where he could stay for the night instead. There was a small hotel 2 blocks away that had a room available, and the woman at the front desk smiled at him warmly when he arrived. The next morning, Travis woke up early and put on a different set of clothes that he had packed in his small travel bag yesterday. This time, he wore a perfectly fitted dark blue suit with a white shirt and a red tie that his wife had given him for his birthday. He looked at himself in the mirror and straightened his collar before heading out the door to face the day ahead of him. His phone buzzed in his pocket, and he saw a message from Jessica saying that she had sent all the files he requested to his email last night. She also said that his legal team was ready and waiting for him at the office downtown whenever he was ready to meet with them. Travis walked back to the Grand Palace Hotel, but this time he did not go through the front entrance where Tony had thrown him out yesterday. Instead, he walked around to the side of the building, where there was a service entrance that employees used to come and go for work. A young woman in a hotel uniform was standing outside smoking a cigarette and looking at her phone with a bored expression on her face. She looked up when Travis approached and asked if she could help him with something, or if he was lost and needed directions somewhere. Travis smiled at her and said he was looking for the employee entrance because he had a meeting with someone who worked inside this hotel today. The woman pointed at the door behind her and said he could go through there, but he would need to sign in with security first. He thanked her and walked through the door into a long hallway that had gray walls and bright lights that hummed above his head very loudly. A security desk was set up near the entrance, but the guard sitting there was looking at his phone and did not notice Travis walk past him. Travis found his way to the elevator and pressed the button for the top floor, where the executive offices were located according to the building map. The elevator doors opened with a soft ding, and he stepped out into a fancy hallway with thick red carpet and gold frames on the walls. A woman sitting at a desk near the elevator looked up at Travis with wide eyes and asked if he had an appointment with someone today. She said that this floor was for executives only, and that regular guests were not allowed to be up here without permission from management. Travis told her that he did have an appointment and that his name was Travis King, and he was here to see whoever was in charge today. The woman typed his name into her computer, and then her face went very pale like she had just seen a ghost standing right there. She jumped up from her chair so fast that she almost knocked over a cup of coffee sitting on her desk next to her keyboard. She said that Mr. King was the last person she expected to see walk off that elevator this morning, and asked if anyone knew he was coming. Travis said that nobody knew he was coming because he wanted to surprise everyone here today with a very special visit from the owner himself. The woman behind the desk picked up her phone and made a quick call to someone, while Travis stood there waiting very patiently for her to finish. She whispered into the phone that the owner of the entire hotel chain had just shown up without any warning at all this morning. Within 2 minutes, a tall woman in a gray suit came rushing down the hallway with a nervous look on her face and sweat on her forehead. Her name was Patricia Wells, and she was the regional director who was in charge of 15 different hotels across the entire state. "Mr. King, this is such a surprise, and I wish someone had told me you were coming so I could have prepared something for you today," Patricia said. Travis shook her hand and told her that he liked to make surprise visits to his hotels, sometimes to see how things were really running day to day. He said that you could learn a lot about a business when nobody knew the boss was watching them from up close like this. Patricia nodded her head quickly and said that was very smart of him to do that, and she hoped everything was up to his high standards. She asked Travis if there was anything specific he wanted to see or anyone in particular he wanted to meet with while he was here today. Travis said yes, and told her that he wanted to meet with the general manager, named Robert Crane, in the main conference room in exactly 10 minutes. He also said he wanted the front desk supervisor, named Linda, to be there as well, because he had some questions for both of them. Patricia's face went a little pale, but she nodded and said she would have them both in the conference room waiting for him right away today. She hurried off down the hallway while pulling out her phone to make more calls to the people downstairs in the main lobby area. Travis walked slowly toward the conference room at the end of the hall and looked at the pictures hanging on the walls along the way. There were photos of all the Grand Palace hotels around the country, and he remembered buying his first one almost 12 years ago now. He had started with nothing but a small loan from his grandmother and a dream to build something that would last forever. The conference room had a long wooden table with 12 leather chairs around it and big windows that looked out over the whole city below. Travis sat down at the head of the table and waited quietly while looking at the view of the buildings and streets outside the glass. The door opened about 8 minutes later, and Patricia walked in first with Robert and Linda following right behind her, looking very confused today. Robert was wearing the same dark suit from yesterday, and Linda had the same tight blonde hair pulled back on her head. Patricia told Robert and Linda to sit down because there was someone very important who wanted to speak with them about some matters from yesterday. Robert sat down in a chair and looked at Travis with a puzzled expression on his red face, like he was trying to remember something. "Do I know you from somewhere, because your face looks kind of familiar to me right now?" Robert asked while squinting his eyes at Travis. Travis leaned back in his chair and smiled at Robert for a long moment before saying anything at all to answer his question about where they met. He told Robert that yes, they had met before, and it was right here in this very hotel just yesterday afternoon around 3 o'clock. Linda's face suddenly went completely white, and her mouth fell open as she realized who was sitting at the head of the table now. She grabbed Robert's arm and whispered something in his ear that made his face change from red to pale gray in just 1 second flat. Robert started to stand up from his chair, but Travis held up his hand and told him to sit back down right now because they were not done. He said that Robert had told him yesterday that the hotel had the right to refuse service to anyone they wanted to refuse. "Mr. King, I had no idea who you were yesterday, and if I had known then I would never have treated you that way," Robert said. Travis nodded slowly and said that was exactly the problem he wanted to talk about with both of them here today in this room. He said that Robert should treat every guest the same way, whether they are the owner of the company or a regular person off the street. He pulled out his phone and pressed a button to play a video that he had recorded yesterday in the lobby of the hotel. The video showed Linda telling him There were no rooms even though she never checked the computer system on her desk at all. It showed Robert pushing his phone away and threatening to have security throw him out on the street like garbage waiting for pickup. The room was very quiet as the video played, and Patricia put her hand over her mouth with a shocked look on her face today. She said she had no idea this had happened yesterday, and that she was so sorry this occurred at one of her hotels under her watch. Travis put his phone away and looked at Robert and Linda sitting across the table from him with fear in their eyes now. He asked Robert how many other guests he had turned away from this hotel, simply because of how they looked when they walked through the door. Robert started to say something, but Travis held up his hand again and told him he already knew the answer to that question from his research. His team had pulled the records from the past 2 years and found over 40 complaints filed against this location for the same exact thing. 40 different people had been told there were no rooms available, when in fact there were plenty of empty rooms just waiting for guests to check in. Most of those people had dark skin or foreign accents, or wore simple clothes that made them look poor to the staff here. Travis stood up from his chair and walked over to the window to look out at the city below him for a moment of silence. He said that he had built this company from nothing because he believed that every person deserved to be treated with respect and kindness, no matter what. He turned around and looked directly at Robert with eyes that were calm but very serious at the same time now. He told Robert that he was fired from this hotel effective immediately, and that he would never work in any Grand Palace hotel ever again. Robert's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, but no words came out for several long seconds of painful silence in the room. He finally said that Travis could not do this because he had worked here for over 15 years and had given everything to this company. Travis said that 15 years meant nothing if Robert had spent all that time hurting innocent people who just wanted a place to sleep tonight. He said that a leader should protect the people under his care, not use his power to make them feel small and unwanted. He then looked at Linda and told her that she was also fired for her part in what happened yesterday and all the other times before. He said that following orders was not an excuse when those orders were wrong and hurt people who had done nothing to deserve it. Linda started to cry and said she was just doing what Robert told her to do because she was afraid of losing her job here. Travis said he understood that fear, but she still had a choice to make, and she chose wrong every single time it mattered the most. Patricia asked Travis what he wanted her to do about the other complaints from guests who had been treated badly at this hotel before. Travis told her to reach out to every single one of those 40 people and offer them a full refund plus a free weekend stay at any location. He also said he wanted Patricia to set up new training for every employee in the entire company about treating all guests equally and fairly. He said that anyone who could not follow these simple rules would be let go just like Robert and Linda were today right now. Robert stood up from his chair and pointed his finger at Travis with anger burning in his eyes that had turned red again now. He said that Travis was making a huge mistake and that he would regret this decision for the rest of his life starting today. Travis did not flinch or step back even though Robert was much bigger than him and looked ready to explode with pure rage. He told Robert that the only mistake he made was not checking on this hotel sooner, before more people were hurt by his actions. Security guards came into the room and escorted Robert and Linda out of the building through the same service entrance that Travis had used earlier. They were told to collect their personal items and leave the property within 30 minutes, or the police would be called to remove them. Travis spent the rest of the day meeting with the other employees of the hotel to tell them about the changes that were coming soon. He shook hands with housekeepers and cooks and bellhops and told them that their hard work was valued and appreciated by him personally every single day. One young man who worked at the front desk asked Travis if he was really the owner of the whole company because he did not believe it. Travis laughed and said yes, he really was the owner, and he had started with just one small hotel in a town nobody had ever heard of before. The young man said that gave him hope that maybe one day he could build something big like that too, if he worked hard enough at it. Travis put his hand on the young man's shoulder and told him that anything was possible if you never gave up and always treated people right. That evening, Travis walked out of the Grand Palace Hotel through the front entrance with Patricia by his side, thanking him for coming. A crowd of employees had gathered near the door to wave goodbye to the man who owned the company. They all worked for every single day. Travis waved back at them and then stopped when he saw Tony, the security guard, standing off to the side with a worried look on his face. Tony was the one who had grabbed Travis by the arm and pushed him out onto the street yesterday afternoon like he was nobody at all. Tony walked over to Travis and said he was very sorry for what he did yesterday and that he was just following the orders he was given. He said he knew that was not a good excuse, but he wanted Travis to know that he felt terrible about the whole thing now. Travis looked at Tony for a long moment and then asked him if he would have done the same thing if he knew Travis was the owner. Tony shook his head and said no. He would have treated him much better if he had known who he really was from the start. Travis told Tony that was the wrong answer because he should treat every person the same way no matter who they are or what they look like. He said that a person's worth is not determined by how much money they have or what position they hold in the world today. Tony nodded slowly and said that Travis was right, and he promised to do better from now on with every guest who walked through the door. Travis smiled and told Tony that he believed him, and that everyone deserved a second chance to make things right if they truly meant it. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card with his name and phone number printed on the front in simple black letters. He handed the card to Tony and told him to call if he ever saw anyone at this hotel being treated unfairly by anyone at all. Tony took the card and held it like it was made of pure gold that could disappear at any moment if he was not careful enough. He thanked Travis and said he would keep his eyes open and make sure that what happened yesterday would never happen again to anyone else. Travis walked down the street toward his car that was waiting for him at the corner, with his driver standing by the open door. He looked back at the Grand Palace Hotel one more time and thought about all the people who had been hurt by the hatred they found there. He climbed into the back seat and told his driver to take him home because he had a long day and needed to rest now. The car pulled away from the curb and merged into traffic, while Travis watched the city lights pass by outside his window in the dark. His phone buzzed with a message from Jessica, saying that the story had already hit the news and was spreading fast across social media tonight. People were sharing the video of what happened in the lobby, and thousands of comments were pouring in from all over the world right now. Travis read some of the comments and saw that most people were happy that Robert and Linda had been fired for what they did yesterday. Some people shared their own stories of being treated badly at hotels and restaurants and stores just because of how they looked when they walked in. He put his phone down and closed his eyes for a moment while thinking about his grandmother, who had given him that first small loan. She always told him that the measure of a person is not how they treat people who can help them, but how they treat people who cannot. Travis smiled and whispered a quiet thank you to his grandmother, even though she had passed away many years ago now in her sleep. He knew that she would be proud of what he had done today, and the message he had sent to the whole world about treating people right. The car pulled up to his house, where his wife and 2 children were waiting for him at the front door, with big smiles on their faces. His daughter ran down the steps and jumped into his arms, while his son followed close behind asking about his trip and what he brought them. Travis held his children close and told them that he brought them the best gift of all, which was a story about standing up for what is right. He said that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stay calm when other people want you to get angry and fight back with fists. His wife kissed him on the cheek and said she saw the video online and was so proud of how he handled everything at that hotel. She said that Robert and Linda got exactly what they deserved, and maybe now other people would think twice before treating guests that way. Travis nodded and said that was his hope, that this story would make at least one person stop and think before judging someone by how they look. He said that change happens one person at a time, and every small victory adds up to something bigger over many years. They walked inside together as a family and closed the door behind them on a day that Travis would never forget as long as he lived. He had gone to that hotel as a regular guest in a gray hoodie and left as a reminder that you never know who someone really is. And sometimes the person you treat like nobody turns out to be the one person who can change everything with just one phone call and one decision.